I recently discovered my wife was stepping out on me while she was supposed to be visiting her mom. Hey there. I'm just looking for someone to chat with about all this. My tail might stretch on a bit, but I've got to spill everything weighing on my chest. Tina, my wife, and I have been a couple for 29 years now, with 26 of those spent hitched. I'm 53 years old, and she's 48, just a few years behind me. We've raised two amazing kids, our son Alex, who's 20, and our daughter Susan, who's 17. They're both off at college these days, and honestly, we've always taken pride in the life we carved out together. Way back when, Tina and I crossed paths in college. She was this lively art student with a spark in her eyes, while I was plugging away at my business degree. We clicked instantly, like two puzzle pieces snapping into place. Once we graduated, we tied the knot and kicked off our journey as a team. Like most young pairs, we hit some bumpy patches early on, but we powered through it. I launched my own little company, and Tina took a job teaching art at the high school nearby. Our marriage hasn't been flawless, whose ever is, really? We've had our share of arguments and tough times. About a decade into our life together, I learned Tina had a one-night fling with a coworker during a school conference, while I was stuck at home with a sick Alex. She owned up to it immediately, tears streaming down her face, pleading for me to forgive her. It stung bad, but we pushed past it. We went to therapy, hashed things out, and I eventually let it go. People mess up sometimes, don't they? Side note, I reckon a lot of guys might do the same if they've been married this long. With time, our bond patched itself up. We poured our energy into raising the kids and planning our future. I genuinely believed we were content. Sure, the spark wasn't always blazing after 25 years, but that's just how it goes, right? We still carved out date nights, jetted off on trips together, and mostly enjoyed hanging out. Or so I thought. Then, last month, Tina said she needed to check in on her mom down in Florida. Her mom's getting up there, 77 now, and Tina was fretting about her managing alone. She figured on staying 3 weeks to tidy up her mom's place and maybe sort out some long-term plans. I cheered her on, thinking it was a solid move. But while she was away, something weird cropped up. Out of the blue, our insurance company rang me up about a medical bill we'd somehow missed. They'd been digging through old claims and found one that hadn't gone through right. They just needed me to confirm a few details to square it away. The rep started rattling off the info, the date, the doctor's name, and what the treatment was for. I went stone cold when I heard it. An antibiotic prescription, one typically used for chlamydia. The visit had been to a clinic in the next town, not our usual family doc. My brain screamed, what in the world? I've never dealt with an STI, not once in my life. Side note, talk about a massive warning sign popping up like that. I've always been loyal to Tina, never strayed. If she had an STI, it had to come from someone else, someone who wasn't me. I mumbled a thanks to the rep and said I'd call back later. My head was spinning like a top. What was going on back then? Then it hit me, Tina's art workshops. She'd started heading to these weekend painting sessions in that same nearby town. The very town with that clinic. She'd go once a month, sometimes twice, and I'd been all for it, thinking she was chasing her love for art. I tore into our home office, hunting for anything that might clue me in. Tucked away in the back of Tina's art supply cabinet, I found an old sketchbook from that period. As I leafed through it, a little slip of paper fluttered out, a prescription receipt from that clinic, stamped with the exact date from the insurance claim. The doc had jotted down, take all as directed. My pulse was hammering in my ears. This wasn't some mix-up or billing glitch. Tina had been treated for an STI about a year back, and she'd kept it hush-hush from me. We'd been close during that stretch, and she never hinted I should get checked. What was that supposed to mean? The next few days, I wandered around in a fog, racking my brain for every detail I could recall from that time. Back then, our daughter Susan was hitting rough waters at school. Math was kicking her butt, and some kids were picking on her. Tina and I were bickering a ton about how to deal with it. I figured we were just frazzled parents trying to keep it together. Then another memory clicked. My best buddy Alan had been swinging by a lot around then. He and his wife Alicia were wrestling with their own issues, and he'd drop over for a beer and event session. Sometimes he'd show up when I wasn't around, lending Tina a hand with house stuff or tech troubles. I never batted an eye. Alan's been my rock since high school, stood up as best man at our wedding, even became Alex's godfather. I decided to poke through our old family pictures from that stretch. We've got digital albums sorted by year, so I started flipping through ones from about 6 years back. There were tons of cookouts and pool days with Alan around. In a bunch of shots, he and Tina were side by side, his hand resting on her back or shoulder. Nothing blatant. But now, with doubt creeping in, their closeness jumped out at me. Then I stumbled on something odd. On several weekends when Tina was supposedly at her workshops, Alan had posted online about being out of town on business in that same area. The dates lined up perfectly with her trips. Once? Maybe a fluke. 7 times? Side note, no way that's random chance. Another awful thought started gnawing at me. What if Alex wasn't my biological kid? He was born way before this mess, back when Tina and Alan were already pals. Had they been tangled up even earlier? Or was this just one of many times she'd stepped out? I ordered a DNA test kit online to settle it. When it showed up, I swabbed my cheek and dug out one of Alex's old toothbrushes from his bathroom drawer. He'd left it behind when he headed to college. I wasn't sure if DNA holds up that long, but I'd read it might last months or even years depending on conditions. I mailed off the DNA samples and waited, my stomach in knots. While Tina was still away and the test results were pending, I kept poking around for answers. I gave Alicia, Alan's wife, a call just to shoot the breeze and catch up. Trying not to tip my hand, I casually asked what their family had been up to a couple of years back. She mentioned Alan was always jetting off for work, business trips and workshops, she said. Funny thing is, Alan never breathed a word about those to me, even though we were supposed to be tied as brothers. Those were rough days for us, Alicia admitted quietly. Alan was pulling away, always glued to his phone, staying late at the office. I even wondered if he was stepping out, but I never found any hard proof. That chat only tightened the knot in my gut. All the signs were screaming that Tina and Alan were sneaking around behind my back, probably right around that 2-year mark, and I didn't have a clue. When Tina finally rolled back home from her mom's, she acted like everything was peachy. She chatted about her mom's place, showed me some snapshots, and even brought back a batch of her mom's homemade cookies. She had no idea I'd stumbled onto her secret. That evening, as we were getting ready for bed, she picked up on my mood and asked why I seemed so off. I nearly spilled everything right then, ready to lay it all bare, but I held back. The DNA results weren't in yet, and I wanted every piece of the puzzle before I made a move. About a week after she got back, the DNA test results landed in my inbox, tucked inside a secure PDF. I was at the office when the email pinged, and my hands were trembling as I clicked it open, bracing for the worst. The report confirmed Alex was 100% my biological son. The wave of relief that hit me was like catching my breath after a punch. Whatever went down with Tina and Alan, at least my boy was mine, no question. That same day, the insurance company called again, digging deeper into that medical claim. This time, they dropped a new detail. The antibiotics weren't just for Tina. They'd been prescribed for another patient seen at the same time, someone also on our insurance, listed as a family member. I pressed for a name, but the rep apologized, saying he couldn't share that info. Then it clicked. This other person had been on our plan years ago, back when they were between jobs. I'd completely forgotten about it until now. This was the nail in the coffin. Tina and Alan had gone to that clinic together, both treated for the same STI, and used our family insurance to cover it. There was no innocent way to spin that one. That night, I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. With the kids off at college, it was just me and Tina in the house. After we ate dinner, I asked her to sit with me in the living room. The look on her face told me she sensed something heavy was coming. Tina, I've got a question, and I need you to be straight with me, I said, my voice steady but firm. Were you and Alan having an affair? Her eyes went wide, like I'd caught her off guard. She opened her mouth, then clamped it shut, then tried again. What? Why would you even think that? She stammered, her voice shaky. I set the insurance papers and that old prescription receipt on the coffee table between us. The insurance company called about an unpaid bill from a couple of years ago, I said. It was for chlamydia treatment for you and Alan. Tina broke down in tears right then and there. She confessed to the affair, saying it kicked off at a neighborhood barbecue after they'd both had a few too many drinks and ended up alone in our garage, supposedly hunting for ice. It was only meant to be a one-time thing, she sobbed. But it didn't stop there. I asked how long it had gone on. She swore it was just 5 months, but when I laid out the timeline of her art workshops and Alan's business trips, she crumbled completely. Okay, it was about 2 years, she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Those workshops were mostly a cover. I'd sometimes go to classes, but a lot of the time, I was meeting Alan at a hotel. 2 years, I echoed, feeling like the air had been sucked out of me. You looked me in the eye and lied every single day for 2 years. Tina pleaded with me to hear her out. She said she'd been in a dark place back then, feeling invisible and swamped with the kids and her job. Alan, she claimed, made her feel seen, like she mattered again. She swore it ended when he took a job out of state 3 years ago. Have you kept in touch with him since he left? I asked. Her pause was all the answer I needed. Just a few texts now and then, she mumbled. Nothing physical, I promise. I pressed her on whether she ever planned to come clean. She shook her head, eyes downcast. She thought keeping it buried would spare me the hurt. She said, better for our family. You weren't sparing me. I shot back. You were covering your own tracks. And the STI? You never warned me, never told me to get tested. You put my health on the line. Side note. That's why I'd tell anyone to cut ties with someone who risks your health like that. She insisted they'd been careful most of the time, but messed up once. When they both started showing symptoms, they freaked out and hit up the clinic together. She claimed she didn't sleep with me until after her treatment was done and she was in the clear. That doesn't make it okay, I said. You should have told me. The next day, I tried calling Alan. He didn't pick up, so I left a voicemail saying I knew the whole story and our friendship was done. Then I dialed Alicia. She had a right to know what her husband had been up to. Alicia was gutted. She'd had her suspicions years back, but talked herself out of them, thinking she was just paranoid. We ended up talking for hours, both of us grappling with how the people we trusted most could stab us in the back like that. She said she was going to confront Alan that evening. Back home, Tina was falling apart. She called in sick to work and spent the day holed up in our bedroom, crying her eyes out. When I told her I'd spoken to Alicia, she lost it. Why would you drag her into this? She wailed, her voice cracking with panic. You've wrecked their marriage. Tina shouted at me, her voice trembling. I didn't wreck a thing, I shot back calmly. You and Alan handled that all by yourselves. For weeks after that, our house turned into a battlefield. Tina was on her knees, pleading for a chance to make things right, swearing she'd do whatever it took to patch up our marriage. She suggested therapy, handed over passwords to her phone and accounts, even offered to quit her job if it'd ease my mind. She kept saying I was the only one she loved, that the affair was the dumbest mistake she'd ever made. I couldn't stay in our bedroom anymore. I moved into the guest room to get some breathing room and sort out my head. I got in touch with a lawyer to figure out what my next steps could be. I also started talking to a therapist to untangle the mess of emotions swirling inside me. I even gave Alex and Susan a call, letting them know their mom and I were hitting a rough patch, though I spared them the gritty details. Alan kept blowing up my phone, leaving voicemails with apologies and his version of the story. I didn't bother listening, just deleted them straight away. Alicia filled me in later, saying she'd booted him out and was pushing ahead with a divorce. As the weeks dragged on, I wrestled with whether to fight for our marriage or call it quits. Tina genuinely seemed torn up about what she'd done. She'd started seeing a therapist on her own and joined a group for people who'd strayed in their relationships. She handed me full access to her phone, emails, everything. No secrets, she said. A piece of me wanted to give it a shot. We'd been together 29 years, after all. We'd raised 2 incredible kids and built a whole life from scratch. Could I really toss that out the window? Side note, that's exactly what I kept mulling over. 29 years is a long haul, and walking away isn't a snap decision. But then again, maybe it could be. Then the memories would creep back in. That clinic visit. The STI she never warned me about. 2 solid years of deception. Those fake art workshops she'd made up. All those nights I was home, helping Susan with her math homework, while Tina was off with Alan. The times I thought we were solid, when really, everything was crumbling beneath me. It all boiled down to one question that wouldn't let me go. Could I ever trust her again? Deep down, I knew the answer was no. 5 months after I uncovered the affair, I filed for divorce. Tina begged me to think it over one last time, but I'd already made peace with my choice. I couldn't live the rest of my days second-guessing her every word. I deserved more than that. The divorce wrapped up a month ago. It didn't come cheap, though. We had to sell our house, which was fully paid off, and split the proceeds right down the middle. I'm still getting used to this new chapter. I picked up a smaller place near my business, something more manageable for just me. I keep in touch with the kids often. They've been real champs about it, even though I know it's shaken them up. Alex is set to graduate college next year, and Susan's killing it as a sophomore. They're the brightest spots that came out of my marriage. Tina, meanwhile, settled into a new spot about 45 minutes from our old place. She's already seeing someone new, not Alan, but a guy from her art crowd. Alan and Alicia are done too. He moved back to her hometown, though I steer clear of anywhere he might show up. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if I did the right thing. Marriage is supposed to involve forgiveness, isn't it? But then I remind myself it's also built on honesty and respect. Tina shattered that foundation, and some breaks just can't be patched up. So here I am, hitting reset at 53. It's not where I pictured myself at this stage of the game. But even with all the chaos, I've got hope flickering inside me. I'm figuring out who I am without that marriage defining me. I'm reconnecting with buddies I'd let drift away over the years. I'm pouring energy into my business and taking better care of myself. Most of all, I'm finding calm in the choice I made. Because sometimes, the strongest move you can make is stepping away from something that's tearing you down, even when a little part of you still cares. Side note, 29 years turn to dust. When someone trades their family's future for a cheap thrill, they reap what they sow.